All right, welcome into the Bobby Carpenter Show, and got my man Anthony Schlegel here. Got a big show for you today on a Thursday. 1 week from today, Schlegs, there will be the Thanksgiving holiday, and 1 week from Saturday will be the team up north. But first,
I'm thankful for you, Bobby. I'm thankful for you.
Well, Schlegs, I'm thankful for you coming in hot. You said you're always coming hot, and I said that's great. Buckeyes,
Nice.
Just excited about that for everybody, for the people that are involved. You know, I mean, so Buckeyes will be taking on Indiana today. We talked about it a little bit yesterday, how Seth ended up tearing his Achilles. Seth McLaughlin, center for Ohio State, tears his Achilles. Ryan acknowledged that last night. Non-contact injury during Tuesday's practice. So the question was going to be, who are they going to replace him with? Would they leave Carson Hinsman at guard, put maybe Justin Padilla at center, who'd been backing up and playing some center here as of late, while Carson Hinsman's been playing guard, or would they bump Carson Hinsman to center and move Austin Saravold, who was filling in for Donovan Jackson earlier this year, play some guard? And he's got some action in this season as well. Started first couple games, plays at Donovan Jackson. So trying to figure out what they would do. Well, Ryan made the big announcement. The reveal is here, and they're going to move Carson Hinsman to center, and then they're going to slide in Austin Saravold at left guard in between Donovan Jackson and Carson. So when you hear that, Schlegs, kind of what are your thoughts? Instead of just maybe replacing one guy, you slide a guy and then shift another dude in there.
There's a lot that goes into this. Actually said this was probably going to be the move, if I'm not mistaken, yesterday, Bob. And here's why. Carson played 12 games as center last year.
Yep.
He was competing for the job this year.
I mean, he started 12 games.
Exactly. Started 12 games, right? So, again, when you're calling out the fronts, and again, this was a heated battle. Like, Seth even acknowledged it, talking about Carson in competition and how it made him go harder and put in more work. And, it wasn't like you're just going to walk in here and start. Like, there's a dude that played 12 games. I got to go earn the position. He did that. That doesn't mean that Carson just stopped doing what he's doing and he's not in the room and backing up. Like, Carson's the type of guy that just put me on the field. I want to add value. Like, that's what you want from a guy on your team, especially an offensive lineman. When we've seen it this year, there's a lot of things that are going down, right? I mean, Josh goes out, right? Boom. Or AKA Jimmy, Josh Simmons, boom. Put Zen in there. Zen goes down. Now we got to make a switch. Now I got a guy that never played tackle, has to go be our left tackle, and that's Donnie, filled in admirably. Though he could be probably one of the first guards taken on the board in the draft. Boom, I put Carson Hinsman in there. Kind of a dog, right? Hunt dog. There's a big thing on social media about that. Like, that's kind of Carson.
Hunt dog. What does that mean? Schlegs, expand on
show dogs. There were show dogs and hunting dogs, right? Show dogs, like, how do I look? Like, when am I going to the show? How much playing time? Hunt dogs, I just want to go hunt. Like, I'm going to go work. Matter of fact, side nugget, I had hunting dogs. I had a bunch of hog dogs, Bob. Now we're going to start talking hog dogging. Buddy the hog dog. But I mean, I just always was amazed. I remember one night, this is like 2008 or so, I had this dog called Hat. Though pterodactyl doesn't start with an H, I just thought it sounded better, but it was hard ass, or it starts with a T. It doesn't start with a T, but hard ass pterodactyl Hat. That was my strike dog. And there's even a difference between strike dogs and hunting dogs because he was like the alpha and everybody rallied to Hat. But anyways, I'd open up my truck bed. I dropped that tailgate down. Boom. These dogs were freaking ready to go. They know we were going hunting. That's all they want to do was hunt. I mean, super juiced up about it. I throw that down and they would just jump up there and just like stand on my tailgate. I put their cut collar on, put their tracking collar on, boom, in the dog box, load them up, go out somewhere in the middle of Texas on the river bottoms and just hunt pigs, and it was great. Like that's a hunting dog. Like, I live to hunt. And that's what Carson is. Like, Carson he wants to play football and he wants to add value to Ohio State. I think he's going to do a great job at center. And then you also saw Austin earlier in the year fill in for Donnie. Makes the most sense. We also talked about why it worked to this point, and it was because you had veteran guys on the outside, Josh Fryer, Donnie, right? You had Seth in the middle, two younger guys there at the guard. But you know what, though? Carson's played a lot of ball. I think he's going to do fine. And they had to make this adjustment on a Wednesday. It wasn't like you were going into the week knowing you had time for this. it was next man up mentality. And we've seen so many people on social media, Buckeyes, oh, good, hey, you're welcome, Oregon, or whatever. No, man, next man up. Like, that's what you do. Things happen in a season. How do you respond? We won a national championship with a third-string quarterback at that time, not playing like a third-string quarterback. Cardale did a phenomenal job because why? He was getting game mental reps that when he went in the game, he just balled out. So I'm excited to watch it happen on Saturday.
It is. And people talk about next man up, but there is a reality to this, Schlegel. This is the third offensive lineman starter that they've lost. They lost Josh. Then they put Zen in. They lose Zen the next game after the bye. And now you lose Seth. And two of those guys, really good players. Zen was filling in and doing a pretty good job. But you lose 3 starting offensive linemen over the course of like 6 weeks. It is next man up. But I think this is also going to challenge Chip Kelly, Justin Fry, their play calling, their development of this offensive line. And Schlegel, we know they've been throwing a lot of shade at Justin Fry in this offensive line. It was the lack of development, people said. There was the issue, obviously, when Zen came in. Did he play well enough instead of Simmons? They're upset about that. There was just a lot of people upset about a lot of things. And then that's when Seth McLaughlin came out against Penn State, had a lot of juice. Him and Donovan leading the charge, just run the damn ball. Let's go get after it. Well, now you've got Seth gone. And I'm more concerned, not necessarily about the blocking, because I think Carson can handle that. He did a great job at guard. I think that he's played enough. Well, he hasn't played as much as Seth, but he did play a lot of center last year. He's been playing guard. So I feel like he'll be pretty adept at being able to pick up the fronts, IDing the backers, who the potential blitzers are. Oh, gosh, almost knocked my mic over there. IDing different guys, because that's what you see when those guys are pointing. It's like, hey, 46 is the mic, 36, and that turns the protection that way. That lets them know, like, hey, usually we've got the 4 down plus that guy. And so the back will have the next, or maybe a tight end, or however it's going to be blocked, but you have to ID it. And sometimes, they may look like there's something, you're like, oh, I think the blitz has come here. So they'll re-ID it to try to make sure you can always get the back out and have as many guys out in the route as possible. And Seth was good at that. Now I think Carson will still be able to do that. The question that I have, Schlegs, is that run the damn ball mentality, that leadership element that I feel like Seth was adding, and he had that in combo and in concert with Donovan. And now that that's gone, is there any concern about that for you, the leadership element of them being able to get this thing going?
I agree with your point. I also don't negate the fact that you have Josh Pryor, who's senior out there, alpha Donnie, right? And I know Carson and his mentality. So I think it's more of the room and the gelling together and everybody's unique voice and what do we have to have when we go out there? Like, that's the thing you and we discussed on this. Once you've seen it, felt it, and acted, right? Like, which they did versus Penn State, there is no going back. There is no going back. 5-13, run the damn ball, set 5-13. The standard has now become the standard. So it's going to be what Donnie talked about. Like, no, it's the block O. Like, everybody's got to still up their game.
Hold on, listen.
Don't be I'm not. I didn't see. I paraphrase, Bob. I paraphrase, but like, hey, it's going to be where number one thing is set the front, do your freaking job, but then do it with some violence. And again, that's the one thing you can control every play. How you go out and perform and execute the play with violence, even if we might be wrong, as long as I'm wrong, we're wrong together. We're going 100 miles an hour. Like, that's what matters. I think that we've seen that. And going back to your point about Fry, guys, you got an offensive line right here that's semifinalists for the Joe Moore Award. I mean, they continue. You have 3 great tests coming up. 3. Live in the moment. You got Indiana. That's number 1. But us fans go outside the box. You go Indiana, you go Michigan, you go Oregon with this lineup and the things that have happened and the attrition that's happened through the offensive line, and you perform and win those games, boom, offensive line of the year, hands down.
I like it. So one of the things that I really enjoy is the leadership piece of this, Schlegs, is Seth McLaughlin came in here as a 1-year transfer.
Yep.
And you always wonder about the buy-in with those guys. And everybody, I think, saw he established himself as a leader. Maybe he didn't wear a C, but you don't need a C on your chest to be a captain and to be a leader. Maybe to be a captain, but to not be a leader. And Seth was one of the leaders of that group. And, Pat, I'm going to throw that up about his involvement here. So this is a guy who Tuesday after practice or Tuesday during practice, Schlegel tears his Achilles, get confirmation. I think getting confirmation of it is, I mean,
It's
you're
meaningless.
pretty,
You know.
you're pretty certain, like when you can squeeze folks like the back of your leg and you can squeeze all the way to the bone, like down by the ankle, there's no like rigid tendon there. Yeah, that's a pretty rough situation. So Seth, he gets this done. Boom, goes, gets the MRI. What's he doing? They confirm it Wednesday. He was like, and Ryan said this, he'll be like a coach now. He was at practice. He's going to have surgery next week, but he's going to remain around the team. And to me, that's really important. And it speaks a lot to Seth's character and what he's about. Like, this team still has national championship aspirations. They still want to beat the team up north. And that was kind of a revenge game for Seth. That's who they got beat by at Alabama last year when he was playing in the college football playoff, or else he could have probably had a national championship. And so I don't think he has one. So he wants to potentially go get one here. And maybe the season doesn't work out. And that's the beauty of life, Schlegs.
Yeah. And I mean, Bob, you lived it, right? Like yours was not Achilles, but you lived it. Like you couldn't play the remainder of the season. You go down the Michigan game, the first thing you're doing is we're sitting on the bench. We're like, yeah, we got you, Bob, right? Like we know the presence that just left the building. We know what you brought to the table besides just being a great football player, right? But then you poured it into, a young strapping lad in James Laurinaitis, right? And you're walking through, you're talking through it, you're still involved in it, you're still around it. And that's what Seth's going to be doing. But here's the thing, though. Like you just said, people question a lot about guys coming in. I don't question it at Ohio State because Ohio State has been winning the transfer portal because they've been very, very selective, and they looked at the character and the fit within the culture and within the program. Because at the end of the day, if you just go out and get a bunch of guys and they're constantly trying to test the culture, it's just going to be one of these. Plus, they out-recruit you every single year. Like, that's their job. Their job is to out-recruit you all the time. When you go to Ohio State, like, that's the expectation. I got to go put forth the work to be able to go be a starter. It's not just hand it to me. But these guys know it. They bought into it. I think where the question is, when do they find their authentic self and their authentic voice within a new team? And that takes time. And we've seen it happen with Will. Caleb is just kind of different, right? Because he's a safety. He does a lot with his play, right? You saw with IGB the previous year. You've seen it with Jimmy, right? He's very quiet, but he's just continually just gets better. You've seen it with the guys that we brought in because Coach Day and oh my gosh, just totally brain fart.
Mark Pantoni,
my guy, right? Like they have done a great job of roster management and identifying the guys that will come in, add value, not necessarily only on the field, but also in the culture. Q is a great example. Q is phenomenal, guys. Like, honestly, the best fit for Quinshon Judkins was Ohio State. Like, why would he go there? Like, he needed Ohio State just as much as Ohio State needed him. I'm telling you right now. And he's thriving in it because of the room, because of the team. He's doing phenomenal.
Yeah. Throwing the coach in there as well. Carlos Loughlin doing a great job.
Dude, phenomenal.
I think that's one of the things, like you get the right guys and you have it. And so for him sticking around, because Carson Hinsman, Austin Servo, that offensive line is going to need Seth McLaughlin this week, next week, and hopefully in the weeks to come as he's rehabbing his torn Achilles and still part of the team. Go ahead. Final thought.
Can you guys, I just want everybody to understand that in 2024, this is the beauty of competitive excellence. I just want you guys to know that, right? Like you can go in there and violently compete and win. Carson was winning. Seth said this. Carson was winning, kicking his ass. I got to get better. I got to do some things, right? I got to improve on some of my weaknesses. Competitive excellence, right? Carson's not, oh, well, it's me, oh, this thing, next man up, I'm ready. Boom, you're going to go be a guard. Boom, Seth goes down. I'm going over. I'm helping you. Like, that's the beauty of competitive excellence. And all this and everything talks about the game of football. That's the thing that I look at, that I'm probably the most proud of these young men being able to embrace that and actually show other people what competitive excellence is all about.
It's pretty sweet, Schlegs. And we're very blessed to have those guys at Ohio State, the type of players, the type of men, the character that they possess. Pretty darn exciting to see this move forward. Will be a challenge this week. We'll continue to break down that challenge. We've got Ben Simmons coming up here around 1 o'clock, going to break down all the best bets, help win you some money this weekend heading into the holidays. If you're watching on FanDuel TV. Thank you very much. YouTube, Twitter, please like, subscribe, leave comments. We love them all. Before we get out of here, I want to tell you about Export. For parents and athletes out there, protect what matters most, your grill with Export mouth guards trusted by professional athletes, designed by NHL team dentists. They're scientifically tested to absorb those high-impact hits, protecting both your teeth and your brain. Export mouth guards, 3 layers of advanced protection, patented carbon fiber that they custom 3D print right to your grill. It's going to feel fantastic. It's going to be right there for you for better protection, better performance, max comfort, clear communication. So you can focus on your game, not on your gear. Don't take chances with your safety. Visit exportguards.com/Bobby and save 15% on Export. Export, protect what matters most. More on the Buckeyes coming up next.
The Big Play Sports Network. Download the free app today to watch all of your favorite hosts on demand.
I'm Garage Beer, and this is Bobby Carpenter.
Garage Beer. Beer-flavored beer.
Beef with an F? Okay, my bad. It's crisp and cool, and it doesn't taste like... I'm Bobby Carpenter. I drink in garages because my wife says I don't belong inside. If you like a cold breeze on your bag, drink Garage Beer. It's American, and so can you. Garage Beer. Beer-flavored beer. All right, Schlegel, so we talked a little bit about Seth being still around the team. Let's take a look at this offensive line moving forward and throw up there. Like we talked a little bit about who's going to be playing and how that's going to ultimately look. So we can throw a little diagram of these guys up here just to give the folks, froth them up a little bit, Schlegel.
Ooh, so frothy.
And yeah, I apologize because apparently I said Ben Simmons. I meant to say Ben Stevens. Ben Scott Stevens, give him a follow on Twitter. He's from Sports Grid Radio, does a great job with us each and every week. But what this team's going to look like, because you're having some new guys pop in there, and then we're going to hit Donovan Jackson after that and his leadership role, because he's embracing and taking on a lot now. But if you want to see the dude strikes, we're going to have Austin Servold, Carson Hinsman, and I feel pretty good about that. And because here's the thing with Indiana, as we get into this Indiana game a little more. Indiana, they've got some guys up front that are talented. They've got some smaller school guys that come in. I believe one guy transferred in from Kent State. They've got a number of dudes that have ultimately come in as well that followed Kurt Signetti over. So they've got some dudes up there. And so it's going to fall on those guys to be able to get it done up front because they're going to have to run the football. You don't want to get in a game where you're dropping back against Indiana 40 to 45 times. That's what happened in Nebraska, and they got sacks. They had gotten in trouble, and then Indiana just ran roughshod on them. So you want to make sure that you're going to be able to be good, and those guys are going to be rocked up front. All right, Alexa, what's happening? But look at this. So we got a couple of dudes right here. Carson Hinsman looks like that. That's the toughest I've seen him look. And Austin, he's going to bring the pain too.
Yeah, Austin leg drive, he's I just remember watching and the weight he's throwing around and sleds. I'm almost like, dude, this guy's an earth mover, and for an earth mover, right? Like you got to be able to like just play fast and just like move dudes. Like you want to, again, dude mover, right? So, right here, I feel great about this. One, they're younger guys, but Carson's played a lot of ball. He has that mentality. And I love this matchup. Like Kurt's done a really good job there about being selective too and who he brought in, like guys that play with a chip on their shoulder. You didn't get recruited by these schools. I see value in you. I think you could add value to us. Like, come on in, right? Hey, guys, JMU guys, let's go. You know the culture I want. You know the expectations. You know the standard. Like, that's what this is. Is Ohio State significantly more talented? 1,000% if there isn't a percentage of that. So just 100%. But you still got to go out there and execute. You still got to go run the football. Yeah. And that's what they got to do.
You got to be able to do that. Now, Donovan Jackson's going to assume being the leader. And so when you're the leader, you're the guy that's been around for a long time, Schlegel. You played guard. They kicked you out to tackle. I I believe Donovan is a captain. Is he not, Schlegs? I think
he is.
or is it? No, it's a Mecca and it's Trey on offense. That's who
right.
it is. And then it's
but as we say, leadership has no age.
yes.
Right? You don't have to have a C on your chest. It doesn't matter.
And so this is what's important. And Donovan came out and had a quote, and it was put out here by 11 Warriors. We all wear block O's on our chests for a reason. We're not here for a free vacation. We're here to play football. Guys need to get going. And as we always talk about, the standard is the standard. Schlegs, what does that mean? Well, that's exactly what that means. You're not here to hang out. Like Coach used to say when we were there, you're not here for the comp tickets and the per
Comp
diem,
tickets and sweats.
the sweats, to wear the red sweats to class, to tell people you're on the team. You're here, Schlegs, to be able to go get it done and make plays in a big way. And Urban will always say offensive line driven team. And you're going against guys who are tough this week, not as physically talented. They're going to be aggressive. They're going to have some new stuff coming out. But that's what Donovan, what he's saying right there is the 100% the truth, man. When you put that Ohio State shirt on, you got a block O on there. Everybody's wearing it. That means you're committed to something, and there's an expectation that comes with it.
Yeah, and he's not saying this, guys, as like they haven't been going, right? Like I don't want people to picture that and say, oh, he's trying to get guys motivated to get going. No, they're already going. I just want to preface that because this wasn't like necessarily a challenge. And I will say this is one thing that I've said in the past about Ohio State teams, especially up front, Bob, and it was even after us playing, like I can just throw the silver bullet helmet out there, right? The Buckeye helmet out there, and we're the Buckeyes. No, it's a mentality, the mindset that I'm just going to go get mine. I'm going to I like my plate being full because I wanted to eat type mentality. Like I want to go block dudes. Like I want to go be physical. I want to play with violence. I want to be the hardest playing team. Ryan, I want to leave no doubt, right? It's like, hey, we got to get going. Like that's more film study. That's better taking care of your body. That's better nutrition. That's all the things that's better practicing. Lathan comes on this show week in and week out. Same year as Donnie. Like, I love practice. I know I don't have that many more to go. I just appreciate being out here. Like, let's get going, guys, right? So I just want to make sure, one, it wasn't for a knock on anybody that they haven't been going. I've seen this team want to go eat. I'm excited to watch younger guys have to step up in critical moments versus what we're going to see in a top 5 matchup in Indiana.
Absolutely, Schlegs. Well, we've covered that. We've got some headlines. There's some news around the Big Ten. We'll get into that coming up next on the Bobby Carpenter Show. Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Bobby Carpenter. I want to give a huge thank you and a shout out to Affinity Whole Health, the leaders in the testosterone replacement industry. I've been on a testosterone replacement program for a few years right now, and I've got to tell you, it's been an absolute game changer. Affinity Whole Health has allowed me to be the best version of myself, both mentally and physically. I loved how easy it was to get started. I booked my free consultation, met with my prescriber, checked my numbers, and Affinity Whole Health designed a program that was customized to fit my needs. So I'm telling you guys, if you have low energy, you want to get rid of that spare tire around the waist or take it to the next level in the bedroom, Affinity Whole Health is the place to get started. So don't wait any longer. 5 minutes of your time, book your free consultation. You're going to love the way you feel. Now it's time for our headlines, brought to you by our friends over at Affinity Whole Health. They've got personalized treatment plans to help you feel better, folks. And regardless of what season of life you're in, dudette, whatever it is, they've got plans to help you feel better, whether you're suffering from muscle loss, sleep loss, low energy, low libido. They got everything for you. And so what you do, you go to affinityWholeHealth.com, set up your free consultation. You go in the office, they check you out. They figure out a plan. Hey, here's what I'm trying to do. Maybe I need a TRT program. Maybe I need to be on semaglutide for weight loss. Maybe them both together and a litany of other things that they can do to help you. They ship it right to your house. It'll be there within 2 days, and so you don't have to worry about anything else. Don't wait till January 1. Get started now. Make this be a Christmas present to yourself, Schlegs. Start December. Get a jump start on feeling good so you can look like Schlegs and Mike Tyson when they're weighing in and just a jock. All right.
Oh, so good.
Yeah. Some
I
headlines.
walk around
here.
my house.
You like that? Just walk around, cheeks out.
I just walk around. I mean, hey, my kids are off to school. Boom, just walking around.
So this is one of the things we've been talking about a lot, Schlegs, is bowl eligible, like how the CFP stacks up. And so throw this up here, Pat. We've got a graphic, courtesy of Fox, where you talk about teams in the top 10 or top 12 and their wins versus bowl eligible teams. And what's interesting is people talk about top 25. Who have you beat, top 5 or top 10? Who's your worst loss? And I find this interesting. Like Notre Dame has been crapped on a lot, and Alabama's been crapped on a decent amount. But if teams that have wins against bowl-eligible teams heading into this weekend, understanding, Schleiz, there's 2 weeks left, so teams can still pick up 2 wins to change that paradigm. But Notre Dame and Bama are the most in the top 12 with 5. And then there's one team at Boise with 4. And then you've got a handful of teams with 3, with Ohio State being one of them. And like Tennessee and Indiana, who people are crapping on Tennessee or Indiana saying Tennessee should be in, they both have 1. And now Tennessee's might be over Alabama, but what are we talking about? Like that, they're neither one of these guys are in great situations.
Well, I mean, like let's go back. So Tennessee, they got UTEP this week. UTEP. Yep. And then they finished with Vandy, who's bowl eligible, right? So they can get to 2. And then you also, wherever everything shakes out in the SEC, Notre Dame has Army this week, bowl eligible, man. Like, so they're automatically going to 6.
They're 19th, I think 19th.
What? Yeah, they're ranked. Yeah, 19 or 18, something like that. So they're going to be at 6 if they win that game. Like Army's going to be, and then they got USC, right? So, Alabama, they got OU, they got Auburn. I don't even know where they are in the mix, but here's the deal. Ohio State, even for that fact, like top 5 wins, Penn State, Indiana, again, rematching in Oregon, potentially having 3 top 5 matches that they win those games, bowl eligible wins, right? All in there. But it goes back to then, like I look at this, like what is Texas really doing? Like everybody's talking about these things, like what is Texas really doing?
Yeah.
Who they got Kentucky this week, right? Then they got A&M. They got 2 wins. So I just like everything to play out. The funniest thing about that metric right there they're looking at, top 12, no Big 12 teams.
Yeah.
No Big 12. They ain't in the top 12, right? Yep. And Boise was in there as the 4 seed, which that still blows my mind. Yeah. So, it's one of those things where this is the reality and the situation that everybody is in. It's good that you have them, right? The strength of schedule, but you still got to go play the games.
Well, Schlegs, and let's check out here the QB power rankings by CBS Sports after week 12. And a lot's been made of Will Howard, and they said earlier on the season he was struggling a little bit. You got Shedeur Sanders at the top, who he's been busting it up, man. He's been playing really well for Colorado, dragging them to probably a Big 12 championship game. Will Howard, Jalen Milroe, Sam Levitt, Sellers, and Dylan Gabriel all the way down at 6. I'm telling you, if Will Howard has a good 3-game run, they win these next 2, get to the Big Ten championship and win that and play well, I'm convinced that Will Howard will be in New York for the Heisman Trophy. I don't know if he'll win it. I don't think he'll win it. I think Shedeur will, but I think he'll be the quarterback representative out of the Midwest.
Yeah, I agree with that statement, Bob. Because you have Penn State top 5, you have Indiana top 5, you have the game, then you have another rematch versus Oregon because they already know that they're going because they have a bye this week and they're playing Washington at the last game of the season. Like they'll be in there. So potentially 3 top 5 wins. Again, just control what you can control. You got to beat Indiana. You got to play well. You got to do, he had some little things in there, right? Taking care of the football. Just take care of the football. Go be Will Howard. He'll be there. And again, I know this is kind of a little bit off topic, but Caleb Downs in the convo. I mean, guys, the guy's the dude, man. I posted something yesterday. Zach Smith was just like breaking down some of this stuff. The best thing I know, I just completely went off the rails. Caleb, the one thing I look at Caleb for a young player does such a great job of understanding levels. Like that's a hard thing to do in the back end, understanding levels to be able to plant your foot and go and not get caught in the wash. And that's what offensive scheme is trying to get you to do. Get bunched up in there. He knows how to play the light. And he knows levels really good. But again, Will Howard should definitely be there if he plays one of these next 3 games.
Absolutely. All right. That is our headlines brought to you by Affinity. Coming up next, we got Tailgate Talk brought to you by our friends at Real Truck.
Get the most out of work, life, and all your outdoor adventures with top-selling upgrades for your truck. Guaranteed fit, free shipping, easy install, expert support, and thousands of dealers just a click away. Bring your truck to life. Real Truck. Upgrade today and save between $50 and $400 on select Real Truck products. Visit realtruck.com/specials.
All right, welcome in to our Tailgate Talk, brought to you by our friends at Real Truck. Real Truck has a great offer for you. You head to realtruck.com. It's about Christmas time. You can trick out your Jeep, your truck, your Bronco. They got stuff for the inside, the outside, all of it. All great stuff there, all great gifts. If you spend $100, use promo code Bobby at checkout, you get a free Real Truck hat. Oh, man. How about that? Right there. Free Real Truck hat.
Look at that. Look at it.
Spend $100, promo code Bobby at checkout for Real Truck, and then you'll be able to do it. They have accessories that will make your truck come to life. All right, Schlegs. Tailgate Talk. We got two questions here for you. The first one is coming from Fame Gase. This is a pretty good question. Said, I watched the Coach podcast with Belichick last week that broke down, quote, the empty set. I think we have the right weapons and even used empty a bit versus Penn State. Do you guys have any thoughts on using more of the empty set versus IU and the pressure that it puts on the linebackers?
You want to go? You all right? So, like, there's a time and a place for everything, right? Just like,
what is this? The birds? Turn.
No, just like we can use tempo, right? And we can use huddles, right? We can use tempo as an ally when we want to catch somebody in a personnel package that is advantageous to us. It's the same thing with empty. The good thing that we can do with empty is that our running backs can also go into empty because they're skilled wide receivers, and that does put a pressure on people. And the fact that you have a mobile quarterback in Will Howard that allows you to be able to do some things. Bunches create conflict because there's levels that I alluded to earlier. Like, there's a bunch of different things, but here's the real deal about that situation. Empty just doesn't say, oh, we're just going to run empty for the sake of running empty. It's predicated upon what you have deciphered as an offense that the defense wants to take away from you as your strength. So then you go to another strength. Then you take that strength versus that personnel. If that says that we need to be an empty, that's how you dictate empty.
Well, and the defense, it's really hard to disguise things in empty because there's 5 outs. So you've got to show what you're going to be in. You show your coverage. You can do some tempo stuff with it. I think with Will, you can run some quarterback draws in there too, depending on how they manipulate the coverage and what they're doing. And just gives you another tool to get it done. One last one here. This is coming from Keith Budge, Schlegs.
Ooh, hey, Keith.
The defense lacks the ability to get off the field on third down. It has been a real thing all season. I see it as a real concern heading into this potential 3-week run. What can be done to mitigate this point? Because it was deep into the season. What is your concern? So first of all, let's talk about facts. Schlegs. Ohio State's 17th and third down defense. They are coming in at just above 31%. So that's pretty darn good. The issue has been early in game. They really haven't had an issue with it later. It's been on those first couple drives. Northwestern, that like stirs up some bad memories. But then I think Northwestern was 4 of 5, but I think at one point finished 6 of 12 6 of 16. So they've got to do a better job early in the game. You got a 3rd and 12 on a draw. You got to find a way to get a tackle and get off the field. That's a fact. You're usually going to be a little softer early on as you're trying to figure out what they're doing. But if you can get some of those early in the game, you allow the offense not to get a rhythm. I think that would help a lot. So they've got to start getting a little better early on.
I mean, you hit the nail on the head. I'm not even speaking.
All
You
right.
just spoke facts. 17th in the country. It's been a problem. Like, really? Just
Yeah.
got to execute. Okay, good.
It's been a problem early in games as of late, like for a drive or two. And then it's gotten corrected. So
I look at scoring defense, guy. I mean, yeah, they also have had multiple goal line stands.
Yes.
Right. They've also like not guys, they're giving up 10.7 points a game.
Their scoring defense is great. Their red zone defense is phenomenal. And their third down defense is really good. It's just not top 5, but it's 31%, which is pretty darn good. All right. I can take a break. That was Tailgate Talk, brought to you by our friends at Real Truck.
Give
Go
us
check them
Ben.
out.
Give us Ben.
Now we got our guy, Ben Stevens, Sports Grid Radio, to make you a smarter game consumer and hopefully win you some cash heading into this holiday season. Ben Stevens, Sports Grid, coming up next.
We were called soft last year. You don't want to be soft, especially when you come to the playoffs. So that's going to be a process throughout this season of establishing us as a harder team here in the
Building a home for the people who are worth it. Stepping out, throwing in a line, and dropping the tailgate for a picnic. And finding far-off campsites with the people you're closest to. Upgrade your truck, Jeep, or Bronco with over 1 million parts and accessories. And bring your truck to life. Real Truck.
All right, now it's the favorite part of Schleg's week of the show. He loves it. It's Thursdays. That means our guy Ben Scott Stevens is going to join us of Sports Grid Radio, guaranteed to make you a smarter consumer of college football. And we got ourselves a nice little weekend here, Ben. Maybe not the crazy big matchups, but I'm sure we'll be able to find some value and some intrigue, maybe down in the swamp and some other places. Before we go anywhere else, though, the main entree, you've got Big Noon, you've got Game Day. I don't think I ever envisioned Indiana having Game Day once, let alone twice in a season, in a top 5 matchup, being with the Hoosiers, especially this late. Ohio State favored. I saw it as high as 13.5 or 14. I think it has ticked down a little bit into 12.5 to 12 is what I've seen.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the Seth McLaughlin news. I don't know exactly what's playing into that. Please explain and illuminate this.
Yeah, Bobby, it is really interesting because earlier today on the morning show that I do for Sports Grid, it was 13.5. And then just about 30 minutes ago on the radio show that I do for Sports Grid that is solely football focused, we started talking about the college football Saturday slate, and it was back down to 11.5. There's been a lot of betting love on Indiana, and yet the line has worked to Ohio State, because I think there are some that believes the odds makers have not been correct about this Indiana team all season long. And the Buckeyes are going to show in this step-up spot for the Hoosiers just what it feels like to play in a game against top 5 competition, something that Indiana, of course, has not done so far this season. I'm sure you guys have had the college football playoff discourse and the conversation and conjecture around the Hoosiers' resume. It makes my blood boil, and the neck veins in my head and neck area absolutely want to burst and pop listening to people try to demean what Indiana has done based on the actual metrics that need to be argued about what the Hoosiers have presented to their easy and weak schedule. I'm not going to say easy in air quotes. It is easy, but what Indiana has done to it. But there is no doubt that playing Ohio State is the best competition that Indiana or Oregon or Michigan or any team in college football would face this year. Who's the national championship favorite? Is it that lame front runner in the SEC, Texas, with 0 ranked wins? No. Is it Ole Miss? No. It's Ohio State, the national championship favorites. So no doubt the Buckeyes are the hardest test for Indiana this year. I got to get a little heat off my chest.
Nice.
I like it.
How do you see this game going, Ben?
So it's really important, Bobby, that I think we document this game from the key matchup perspectives that I think will dictate it. As you guys alluded to, also, the tailgate truck or tailgate talk segment by Real Truck, when somebody complained about Ohio State's third down defense, 31.2%, best of any Big Ten program in this 18-team league. That's really good, but that is the passion and the fandom that we love. But to your point, Bobby, and to Schleg's point, even if they give up a couple of first downs, they don't give up touchdowns. Ohio State has only allowed 23 red zone attempts this year, tied for the 5th fewest in all of college football. They have only allowed 7 red zone touchdowns. That is the fewest in all of FBS college football. Who is the best red zone scoring team in the country? That's Indiana. 56 red zone trips, 53 red zone scores, 46 red zone touchdowns. That's going to be a huge key because as we shared and as we have talked about a few times with this Buckeyes defense, they are the best scoring unit in the country alongside Army. To put up any level of points against the Bucs and Jim Knowles' group, incredibly difficult. They have gone under in 6 of 7 Big Ten games. What was the only game over? The game in Autzen against Oregon. If Indiana is going to keep it close, Indiana needs to threaten 21, 24 points against an Ohio State defense that has rarely allowed that many to be scored against it. They need to threaten the over of 51.5. And really, guys, where I think if you're looking for some value on the Hoosiers, your best bet is Indiana in the opening half because Ohio State has been slow to start a few times, slow to start by Ohio State standards. In Indiana, up until 2 weeks ago, had never trailed in a football game. So if you want betting value, the way I would approach it, if you believe in the Hoosiers, Indiana plus 7.5 in the opening half, especially now that the line is working back down to closer to 10 as opposed to 2 touchdowns.
You're amazing. You're beautiful. Hey, I want you to give the people, because this is a Midwest show and we're on FanDuel Network and we got I'm gonna ask you a 2-part question. Steelers, Browns at Cleveland, best bet, and then I want you to go into Army, Notre Dame.
This guy, NFL talk. Come on, Schlegs. Let's get into it. All right, so earlier in the week, you guys know Northeast Ohio much better than I. The wind was expected to be ridiculous. 23 to 25 miles per hour sustained, 40 miles per hour. Latest projected models earlier today. The wind might tamper down a little bit. Wind affects offense much more than rain, sleet, or snow. I bet the under 35.5 earlier in the week. It's working its way up. I don't love the under as much, especially with famous Jameis on one side, airing that ball out, if the wind is not going to be that key of a factor. So if it's not under 36.5 and the weather and the wind is not as bad later on this Thursday in Cleveland, I would go Jalen Warren, second running back for Pittsburgh, over his rushing attempts prop of 8.5. And if you want to talk running the football, well, let's go play in a baseball stadium inside a Yankee Stadium under the lights in the Bronx on Saturday night. 2 great rushing attacks. Of course, Army is the best in the country, the only team averaging more than 265 yards per game on the ground. They're at 335. Notre Dame kind of looks like Army and Navy in terms of their offensive approach this year. Riley Leonard, Jadarian Price, and of course, Jeremiah Love, 217 yards per game for this Irish rushing attack. And maybe you're thinking to yourself, much like Indiana facing Ohio State, best step up in competition for the Black Knights this year. You are correct. And what happened when the Naval Academy entered unbeaten and took on Notre Dame in the greater Northeast? They got hammered. Here's the big difference between Army and Navy. Navy is not good against the run. They allow more than 163 yards per game on the ground. Army is sensational against the run. 3rd best rushing defense in the country. I had questions about Army facing North Texas because of how dynamic that UNT offense can be. They stifled North Texas to 3 points or something like that and 260 total yards. Army's defense is legit, and I mean legit. Watch them play. They fly around. They make tackles. They are incredibly, incredibly disciplined. So thus, I don't know if I love laying 2 touchdowns with Notre Dame. Don't love some of the numbers for Army in this matchup. The Irish have been great against non-MAC opponents this year. 7-0-1 against the spread this season. I think the way that I would approach this is look at what Riley Leonard has done as of late. Starting to throw more touchdowns than he did much earlier in the season. 2 passing scores against Navy. Knowing Army is going to defend the run, I would look at Riley Leonard over his passing touchdowns prop for Saturday night.
One conference race that's out there that's really heated up, and it looked like BYU was going to run away and hide. Ended up losing last week, came back to earth against Kansas. You've got 3 of the top 4 teams vying for that Big 12 championship playing each other. And the other, with Kansas welcoming Colorado, the team that just upset BYU. You got both games there, Ben. BYU, Arizona State, Colorado at Kansas. Do you like one of those games more than another, and kind of how do you see this thing going, and what's really the last big test for these squads before the championship game?
For sure, Bobby. It's an awesome weekend in the Big 12. Again, it might not be a top 25 tilt in every place, although BYU and Arizona State now rightfully so, but these games are going to be awesome. It's almost like a European soccer day or week number 18 of the NFL, simultaneous kicks that are going to determine conference championship races. That's what we have at 3:30 p.m. Eastern time on Saturday afternoon. Both spreads with all the similarities in these games, 3.5 as well. But Colorado is the slight road favorite in Kansas City. Of course, Kansas playing its final 2 home games inside Arrowhead. Arizona State, the home favorite. I'll start with this. BYU is perfect. 4-0 straight up outright as an underdog this year. The numbers, again, should favor the Cougs. But as we have shared many a time, the odds makers are not in love with BYU. They've been an underdog in times. You would expect them to be a touchdown favorite. They're getting 3.5 here against a Sun Devils team that is one of 6 FBS programs that is covered in at least 80% of games. Arizona State is 8-2, both straight up and against the spread. They have covered in every victory. ASU, great against the run, 3rd best rushing defense in the Big 12. BYU's offensive stall has been really big here. They scored at least 34 points in their first 5 Big 12 games, averaging 37.6 in those 5. 35 in total in the last 2, just 17.5 points per game. A lot will be made of Cam Scatterbo, who is one of the great running backs in this sport. And BYU's rushing defense does struggle. I like Arizona State in this spot. I would also say I kind of like Colorado. I think a lot of people are starting to buy into Kansas because of how the Jayhawks have looked in 4 consecutive weeks. 4 straight covers, 3 wins in their last 4. The Kansas team we all anticipated entering the year, one of the great 3rd down teams on offense and one of the great red zone teams on offense as well. But there's a lot that goes into Kansas that still makes me a little bit skeptical. And my biggest hesitation against Colorado this year was how they would perform up front. Defensively, they have been sensational. Everybody knows they can try to run against Colorado. They face about 53% of snaps are a run play against them. They're only allowing now 3.6 yards per pop. They have been so much better defensively this year. I kind of like the Buffs even laying a number in Kansas City.
All right, let's go to this one, because this is kind of interesting because Florida just had a big win. And earlier in the year, it was fire Billy Napier and all these different things, but they're getting better, right? And Lagway's producing. What do you got? Ole Miss, number 9, coming in to the swamp. Should be at night. It's not. What do you have in this one?
Yeah, it is such a tough matchup, Schlegs. Florida has covered in 6 of their last 7. They've been a dog for 5 of those 6 covers. The only non-cover was when DJ Lagway did not play against Texas. Florida has been great against a very difficult schedule. And Florida with Billy Napier since 2022, so much better at home, 13-6 straight up than anything away from the swamp. 3-13 road games, neutral site games. For me, it's an under again on this Ole Miss team that I continue to highlight how great they are defensively. And the Runnin' Rebs are that. They are elite defensively. It's almost like for both teams to cover, the total stays under. As weird as that might sound, oftentimes you can kind of pit them against each other. Well, this team is great offensively, so they're going to add up points. That's how they blow out Florida and win by double digits. But if Florida wants to stay in this game, they also need to keep Ole Miss's offense that is top 5 in basically every category to a minimum as well. I'll go under that number. I think 51.5 is where it stands currently in the swamp.
He is Ben Scott Stevens. He's one of the best. Give him a follow on X at Ben Scott Stevens, Sports Grid Radio. Thank you, Ben. That was a heck of a breakdown. Looking forward to talking to you next week.
Talk to you guys next week. By the way, NFL picks, Schlegs are extra next week, just so you know. Okay.
See you, Ben. All right, coming up next, our guy Schleg's going to wrap up the Bobby Carpenter Show.
Get the most out of work, life, and all your outdoor adventures with top-selling upgrades for your truck. Guaranteed fit, free shipping, easy install, expert support, and thousands of dealers just a click away. Bring your truck to life. Real Truck. Upgrade today and save between $50 and $400 on select Real Truck products. Visit realtruck.com/specials.
All right, Schlegs. Mike is yours. 30 seconds. Wrap it up.
30 seconds. Hey, don't run away from the friction, right? Like right now, I look at the offensive line. Yeah, stuff's going down. Fans are going crazy. No, it's just 5 dudes in a truck, right? Be dude movers. I can't wait to watch this. And you're going to see the game plan and how Chip Kelly and Coach Fry are trying to, like, I don't know necessarily protect them, but massage them into the game. I feel very, very confident that they're going to be able to get the job done and run the football. But again, you don't know until you know, and that happens Saturday at noon.
All right, Schlegs. Well, that's it for today's show. Stay locked in here as we'll finish the show up tomorrow, heading in to a big game as the Hoosiers come in to the Horseshoe. Noon kick on Saturday. We'll be breaking it down for you on Monday as well here on the Bobby Carpenter Show.